Hello and welcome to Porch Time with Bill Benson. I think by now you know I'm Bill Benson. And we're on a porch tonight with someone that I met probably 3 months ago at a songwriter circle. And the minute I heard TJ Sweeney, I was like, I just love what you're doing. And singer-songwriter, and just lyrically, everything that you were doing, I mean, and melodically, just kind of struck me. We've done a show together, and we've got a show coming up. And to my audience, TJ Sweeney.
Thank you for having me, Bill. Appreciate it.
Welcome to the Porch.
Thank you.
So let's talk for a minute about who you are, where you're from, and what you're doing.
Sure. So I'm originally from upstate New York. I grew up in a kind of small farming town outside of Troy, New York, and kind of dotted a little geographically places around New England. Spent some time in Rhode Island and Boston as well, and found my way here to the Simsbury area. And kind of just fell in love with all things Connecticut, and specifically the Farmington Valley, because there's just so much cool stuff going on and really great people to meet. And as I got a little bit more comfortable here and met some more people and through the area, started to meet some musicians like yourself, and started gigging out a little bit and playing some music to kind of introduce myself to this scene, because it's one that was fairly untapped for me, and one that I wanted to explore a little bit more. And I took a bit of a hiatus from songwriting when I moved out this way, and to get back into it and really start playing live and to meet some new people, it's been encouraging. So I've been writing a lot. I'm going into the studio this upcoming week, actually, at Dirt Floor. Right. And I couldn't be more excited about it. So that to me is an awesome. A couple of things. It's an awesome studio. Eric, who is the owner operator, he's a musician. Yep. He's this artist himself. So to be able to sit in the studio with him and help flesh out everything that you have in your soul into a recording is great. Yeah, there's a delicate dynamic when working with producers inside of a studio. And as a musician, you craft these songs and you want them to sound good, but you really need to kind of heed to the genius or the thought process of another individual who has that experience. And just talking about Eric, I've had the pleasure of knowing him for a little over 7 or 8 months now. And whether you have a conversation with him about music or family or whatever it may be, he's the kind of guy that just brings passion to every word that he speaks, and it translates into the music that he creates and helps create. So to have that as kind of your backing, nice. in the creation process is pretty special. So I couldn't be happier to do it with him.
Now, so where do you live now?
So I live in Simsbury.
All right. So, and you've played a number of areas, breweries, and so on in the area.
Yep, I've been playing out at some area breweries and some gigs around that area. I was fortunate enough to play some shows at the Infinity Hall up in Norfolk, which is just an unbelievable space.
Yeah, it's awesome.
And through there and through people that I met there, I was able to foster some really good relationships.
One of the things that I've discovered over my years of resurgence is really when you put yourself out there, you find a family or a support group or a blossoming of ears and understanding for good music, good vibes. And there's a competitiveness that is out there, but there's also this wonderful family of, hey, I love that, man.
Right, absolutely. Well, and you get inspiration from other people that you play music with.
Oh yeah.
And I think you're a better musician for the people that you do play music
Right.
with, and because of the people that you play music with.
Right.
And one of the reasons why I love these songwriter rounds that you and I have been a part of on a couple different occasions is at the same time that we're performing and able to communicate our message with our songs, we also kind of get to be an audience member inside of
Right.
this whole thing, and to see it and to communicate with other people and to listen to them do the same thing that you're doing in maybe
yeah.
a different way or a different message. That to me is kind of this almost cultish type of feel that musicians have, and
that's really is one of the reasons why I love doing the Porch show, because I may sit in a chair or a pew and watch you up there, but when I'm doing a show with you in a songwriter circle, I'm sitting next to you, and I hear and feel your music differently sometimes by just being that close.
Absolutely.
So speaking of that close, just kind of get into a TJ song.
Absolutely. This is a song that I wrote for a buddy of mine. It's called Aberdeen. Leaving against my wishes. If you wrap yourself away with all your quiet premonitions, they say are crazy. And I could take a train, it go faster than a bullet, or the one that finds my brain if you let it. Pearls don't shine, men don't weep. Lie is a lie despite the promises you keep. And Aberdeen may feel the world away. It might be better that way. And she could salt an open wound with a smile if you let her, or pretend that she's your muse and rake you in. And she would spread a licking flame across a dry and open valley, then kneel and pray your sins away forever. Pearls don't shine and men don't weep. Lie is a lie despite the promises you keep. And Aberdeen may feel the world away. It might be better that way. Keep her away from me. You won't believe the things she did to me. Pull her into me. No, no, no. 'Cause I can find my own way out now. 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 Thanks.
So I'm trying to, and I love this part about the show, is I'm trying to figure out if I've ever heard you before. And my thought process behind that is, I hear a bunch of influences, but I can't pinpoint one, which is great.
Yeah.
So who did you, who inspired you? Who did you listen to? How did you develop that? Because that is wonderful.
Yeah, it's tough. I mean, growing up, I wasn't really, I wasn't surrounded by music a lot. My parents didn't play music. They weren't instrumentalists. There wasn't music playing around the house all the time. But I grew up playing piano when I was 5, and it kind of just, I took an interest in something that didn't come easy, but the interest was there, and I wanted to at least pursue to keep on playing, whether I was writing or not. But I'm inspired by a lot of different people. I'm inspired by peers that I play with, like you, and just watching you do your thing at a gig inspires me to write better or differently, or
kind of go this way and
exactly
float that way.
I listen to a lot of somewhat maybe obscure singer-songwriters, and I tend to kind of pick one name and get stuck on them for a week and kind of go through their whole discography and figure out what they've got and what made them write. There's a guy named Donovan Woods out of Canada who writes amazing music.
Heard him, yep.
Really, really great, touching stories, and is bringing back that singer-songwriter relevance to music.
There's a favorite of mine that I've been listening to for maybe 5 or 6 years, Joe Purdy.
No, Joe Purdy is unbelievable. Unbelievable. I went and I saw him play in Boston once, and, the singer-songwriter acoustic, he is the epitome of doing that well.
Right.
Writing just to write stories. And
right.
To me, when it comes to listening to music, and I try to implement this in my writing, I've always been about the stories that, are trying to be told through every single song. And the melody to me is a bonus. If something sounds great, that's cool, but there are people that have stories to tell.
Yeah.
And one of my favorite aspects about writing music is to be able to take little bits of influences here and there and craft something.
One of the things that, and this is where I feel, there's a need and there's a purpose for songwriters like myself and like you, is I write a song from an experience, and it comes out a certain way, but when I listen to your, I'm listening to you capture me with the lyrical aspect of it, and it truly is a story. And mine is a story as well, but it's yours is a story that whether you lived it or you didn't, the secret to a real great song is I'm captured by it. So that when I heard that song, I thought Joe Purdy.
Yeah.
But it was your vocal, it was your lyric, it was your everything. So it's everybody's got their own thing.
Yeah. Well, thank you. And I know we've had this conversation before about what drives us to write or where we find our most influence. For me, a fictional perspective has always been easier, only because I feel like when I try to tell a story about a specific event that's happened to me, I get the blinders on and I try to go directly down the road to get from point A to point B.
Right.
Whereas if I fetch little ideas here and there from picking up from a conversation that I heard a stranger have, or just thinking about a story that I read in a magazine, and taking these bits and pieces and collaging them into something.
Yeah.
I've just had more results that way, at least where I think they're relatable. And I've written a couple songs that have been purely about me, and I do like them, but it's just for whatever reason that.
Well, I think there's two parts of two pieces of songwriting, and one is for me, when I write a song, it's most often than not very personal, and there are bits and pieces that people can relate to, that you realize that, well, I'm not the only one that feels that way,
Exactly.
or have gone through that.
Right.
But like a great novelist or a poet or a songwriter, when you can create a piece of art, whether it's song, poem, or novel, and you can draw somebody in, to me, it's more magical than, say, I had my heart broken.
Right. Yeah, absolutely. No, I couldn't agree more. That makes sense.
Yeah. Play another.
I would love to. And I know I just talked about writing from fiction. This is one that I have just recently written, and it, with everything kind of going on in our society and today's world, and I wanted to write something that had some political but poetic justice, that, I think everyone has their fist in the air anthem type of song, and I wanted to write something that portrayed that, but I didn't want it to be so obvious. Mm-hmm. So I wrote a song about, the things that I was grateful for growing up, the life I was given by my parents, and kind of relaying that message to my kids, if they were both sitting on my lap and, talking about certain things that I hold, valuable to me, and wanted to pass that down. So I wrote this song kind of with that in mind. It's called Humble.
And I totally understand that, because probably, almost 10 years ago now, someone asked me to write a song as a part of a 9/11
Mm-hmm.
concert.
Mm-hmm.
And I wrote a song that could have been politically, USA.
Yeah, right.
But I didn't want to do that. I wanted to write a song that was a personal reflection. And what I ended up doing was I ended up asking the world, my world, to let me know where they were at on September 11th, because most of us remember that.
Yeah,
so my song became, When We Get There, which was not, Yeah USA,
right.
or I'm going to go get you,
right.
or whatever. So you draw it from different places.
Yeah. Yep.
Yeah.
I agree. That's a great concept.
Humble.
Oh, my mother is righteous, and my daddy tells jokes. Both will let out their accent when they're happy or drunk. Never owned them a rifle, never owned them a gun, never passed any judgment towards the folks who owned one. Oh, Maria was gentle, lost her lover too young, kept her words often broken, and her heart always full. Never held any prisoners, just a rosary for God. Closed her blue eyes forever on a cold day in March. lost a good friend with reckless abandon. The words I had said carried hopeless commitment, nestled heartache in vain. Watched my world gently slipping in the palm of her hand. Should have I said, what couldn't I say? What should have I said, what couldn't I say? What should have I said, what couldn't I say? To hold you this way. Should have I said, couldn't I say? Should have I said, couldn't I say? Should have I said, couldn't I say? To hold you this way. Let the western sun set easy. Let the fire burn away to find you peace. Help the wayward ones to live out their days and keep you humble and sheltered from the rain. And keep you humble and sheltered from the rain. Thanks so much.
Wonderful. So, one of the things that it took me almost 40 years to figure out, and I'm actually figured it out and implement it now, is when I play, it's not about how big you are or big you try to sound. You can get an emotion or you can draw somebody in by just picking lightly.
Yeah.
And it took me for, like I said, 40 years to figure that out because I was always going gang,
Yeah.
gang, gang, gang. But to get quiet and get big, and then back, and it's that emotional, that emotional roller coaster, or whatever you want to call it, that I love about your music.
Well, thanks. I appreciate it. Well, I mean, it's something that I've kind of been working on consciously. I mean, I think one of the best ways to tell a story is using dynamics.
Yeah.
I mean, even without playing guitar, and just, telling a story and getting amped up when it comes to that climactic period where you
Right.
really need that, and bringing it back when you're trying to, bring that emotion into it. And but it comes with the singing aspect, and playing the guitar in that way,
Right.
and it's tough to kind of find that dynamic.
Yeah.
But it's something that I've been trying to be more conscious of when
There's a, and I call it, excuse me, for me, I call it a passion that is kind of it's ingrained in you. And a good friend of mine said to me a few years ago, she said, stop trying to play and just feel. And when you feel, you can project, you can present a whole different thing than just 4 chords, 5 chords, or whatever. And once I figured out how to listen to that advice, I can sit on my porch and go, yeah, I'm just nobody here but me.
Absolutely. Yeah.
So when you write a song, do you have a formula? Do you have songs that just kind of roll out? Do you have a process that you follow that is true and tried to you?
Yeah, you know what? I mean, I really don't. Songs to me come in a lot of different ways. Sometimes I'll pick out a melody. I'll hear a melody in my head. I'll pick it out and play it on guitar, and that will start a song. Sometimes there'll be something from a lyrical sense that pops into my head, or I'll hear something, or write down, a verse or a phrase, and that gets the ball going. There's no real rhyme or reason to the way that I do it. I tend to, for the most part, at least find a melody and then try to write out lyrics that fit inside that mold. But I'm not, I'm not strictly tied to a specific process.
All right. Well, we run out of time quickly on the porch. We have fun.
I went way too fast.
Yeah. So we're going to play you out, and TJ Sweeney, and pick a song.
Thank you so much. Break me, no reflection. Dance around the floor with nothing on. Keep me with good intention. Try to fight you off if I were strong. Warm-blooded fools, nothing better left to do. Tie a knot around you, make you stay. Drain our blues to keep the looks from coming through.